All right. Go Birds asks, hi Glenn, did you watch the New York City mayoral debate? What are your thoughts? I feel like the debate, as usual, focused too much on Israel-related issues that are outside the control of the New York City mayor, and would like to hear what you think. So I did watch a good amount of the debate, and I'm not that engaged in this election, and I'm not that invested in it for a couple of reasons. One is I think the chances are overwhelming that Zohran Mamdani is going to win and become the next New York City mayor. I mean, I'm not, a polling guru for saying that. It doesn't take that. You just look at the polls, and his lead is large. It's not shrunk. If anything, it's gotten larger. He's actually nearing 50%, so that even if the Republican candidate, Curtis Leawood, did drop out in favor of Andrew Cuomo, and I'm not even sure he could get off the ballot at this point. The election's pretty close. I think like in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I just think Zohran's victory is virtually assured. And although I was interested in Zohran when he became the Democratic Party nominee, kind of out of nowhere, the Democratic establishment was very uncomfortable with him. They're not anymore. The two people who are running Zohran's campaign, who are kind of shepherding him around, who are massaging his messaging, is a former Obama operative and a former Hillary Clinton finance operative. He's completely embraced the Democratic Party, their messaging, their tactics, obviously still catered to New York City and to the more left liberal audience or voter base that's there. But he's utterly under control. He's walked back many of his statements that have been most controversial. He's going to continue to do that. He obviously has to placate all sorts of power centers, from the police to the real estate lobby to Wall Street, if he wants to have any hope of not having his mayoralty completely wrecked. And he's basically morphed into AOC and Bernie. And it's been a long time since I found them even remotely interesting, either of them. So I did watch it, but I didn't watch it so intensely. But I did think that the most notable part was the part that the question raises, which is, it is amazing that if you run for New York City, you're going to spend a huge amount of your time talking about Israel. Andrew Cuomo based his entire primary campaign, not entire primary campaign, but certainly one of the issues he centered, one of the issues on which he most emphasized, was his unyielding, undying, proven support for the state of Israel. And it's true, he's very, very pro-Israel and always has been. When he was governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo actually threatened that anybody who advocates a boycott of Israel will be cut off and barred from having contracts with the state. And it's not because Andrew Cuomo doesn't like boycotts. Andrew Cuomo actually imposed boycotts on other American states. He ordered a boycott of Indiana in protest to their bathroom bill, their trans bathroom bill. He ordered a boycott of North Carolina for the same reason. So he's more than willing to boycott his fellow American citizens and fellow American states. But if you boycott Israel, he said, New York State is going to boycott you. So that was when he was governor. He's very, very pro-Israel. He centered that in his campaign. And I found the single most interesting moment of this entire race for New York City mayor to be in the Democratic primary, when you had 8 or 9 candidates, one of whom was Zohran, the other of whom was Andrew Cuomo. And the journalist asked the question, what will be the first foreign country you will visit upon being elected as New York City's mayor? And they all just went down the line and went out for the next, saying, Israel, 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 the Holy Land, Israel. And one of them said, Israel and then Ukraine. I'll make my 7th trip to Israel and then my 5th trip to Ukraine. Just trying to cater to the liberal audience, the liberal voting base that they were trying to have vote for them. And then Zohran said, I don't really plan to take foreign trips. I'm running for New York's mayor. I'm going to focus on the people who live in New York City and the municipality and the city of New York City, including Jews, but not the ones in Israel, but the ones in New York City. And this was supposed to be scandalous. Like, how do you run for New York City mayor and not promise that your first foreign trip is going to be to Israel? And Zohran had basically a kind of America first or New York first posture, which is, I'm not focused on foreign countries. I'm focused on affordability in New York. And even a lot of people on the right who obviously have no support or connection to Zohran's ideology expressed respect for the fact that he was willing to answer that way. But this is a new Zohran Mamdani, and he walked back a lot of the things that he had said, including recently. He just gave a recent interview. They asked him, should Hamas lay down arms, a week ago, and he said, I don't really have opinions on that. I'm not looking to govern Gaza, which was a perfectly legitimate answer. I'm looking to govern New York City. And then last night, Andrew Cuomo started attacking him for that, immediately walked back and said, of course I think Hamas should lay down their arms. It's a ceasefire. I think both sides should. It's just he's kind of become that more smarmy Bill Clinton-like. He's a great communicator, sort of a mix of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama in terms of his skills. There's no denying his political talent. But his ambition clearly overrides his convictions, and you can say, oh, he just wants to win. He's had a huge lead in the polls. There was no need to walk these things back. If he's already walking back views out of fear of getting accused of being called this name or that name, then his victory is going to have a very limited utility or impact. But in any event, there was this part of the debate that attracted a lot of criticism for Zohran, a lot of upset, especially among the pro-Israel wings of the Democratic and Republican parties, and it was when he voiced this criticism of Andrew Cuomo. Do we have this video? All right, we don't have the video, but there's a tweet and it says, it quotes Mondami as saying, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate for him to set foot in a mosque. And then Cuomo says that's totally false, and Zohran started demanding that he name the mosques he visited while he was New York governor, because apparently he hadn't visited any mosques. And there's a big Muslim population in New York City, and so Zohran's trying to indicate to them that he, by becoming a hardcore pro-Israel fanatic, that translated into ignoring the Muslim population of New York State in order not to offend his pro-Israel and Zionist funders. And that was the essential critique of Andrew Cuomo, was that unlike Zohran, who just got done visiting synagogues, he visited an Orthodox synagogue, a more Reform synagogue in Brooklyn, that unlike his visits to synagogues, Andrew Cuomo never visited a mosque. And there were a bunch of Israel fanatics on Twitter, don't live in New York City, but really upset by this. One of them was Will Chamberlain, who said, quote, no American candidate for elected office should ever feel like he has to step inside a mosque to win. What's next? They have to have a prayer bump on their forehead? And I couldn't believe the reaction. I mean, like Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro, all these people, like, why should you have to visit a mosque? Why should you have to show any kind of accommodation to Muslims in order to run for New York City? And it's like, are you kidding? It's been a requirement, not just being New York City mayor, but pretty much any high-level political office in the United States, to demonstrate all sorts of loyalty to and support for Israel. Every major American politician makes that pilgrimage to Jerusalem, puts a yarmulke on their head, and practically makes out with the wall in Jerusalem. And they come back and they go to AIPAC conferences. They do a lot more than just showing a prayer bump or a visit to a synagogue or to a mosque. And that was what I said in response. I wrote, quote, this is getting so extreme, this requirement that people visit mosques, that one day it might even be that American politicians feel like they need to make pilgrimage to Israel and put on a yarmulke and kiss a wall and then go back to the U.S. and visit synagogues and AIPAC conferences to praise Israel. Could you imagine? So please spare me this notion that somehow it's so offensive that if you're in New York City with a large Muslim population that you should probably visit people in their religious houses of worship. Every single major candidate for New York mayor has gone to synagogues, has gone to Jewish community centers, has gone to Israel. As I said, they all vowed and promised the first country they would visit upon being elected is the Holy Land in Israel. This is a requirement of American politicians so much more overwhelmingly, this influence, this dominant strain in American politics, than any sort of requirement that you nod to Muslims or talk about the mosque that you visited. And it was just amazing to watch the people who are the most fanatically pro-Israel, the most loyal to Israel, spend the day expressing upset and indignation that if you want to run for New York City mayor, you should have to show that you've visited Muslims in their house of worship, given how many rituals American politicians are required to engage in over and over and over in order to have any chance of being elected to high office when it comes to synagogues and Jews in Israel. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.